All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and start the meeting. If anyone on Zoom is not already muted, could you mute yourself so we don't get any feedback as we stand to say the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will now hand control of this meeting over to our president, LaShane Goins.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to see you here tonight as we are going into our meeting for February 28th. Just a reminder about our club mission. Our club mission is that we provide a supportive and learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. And just as a quick reminder, our in-club values are integrity, respect, service, and excellence. I would like to thank everyone for joining us on last Monday. We had our club contest, the humor contest, as well as the international contest. Thank you to all of our participants. Congratulations to our winners. Our humor contest winners were Randy, who came in first place, and Barakat, who came in second place. And they will be representing us at the area contest, as well as our international speaker who won by a landslide. She competed against
representing us.
Yes, she competed and it was a tough one. She competed against herself. That will be me. So yeah, I will represent our club as well as Randy and Barakat. I believe it's Saturday. Is it this Saturday or
March the 12th?
March the 12th, next Saturday. Next Saturday. So we're looking forward to that. As a matter of fact, just to give you that date, yeah, it's March the 12th at 9:00 a.m. It will be held via Zoom Area 71. Okay. Also coming up on after that, our winners will go to, will go to the division contest, which will be held on April 2nd at 9:00. That will also be held via Zoom. Just a reminder, we do have a monthly executive committee meeting Thursday, March 10th to all our club leaders, as well as it looks like we have visitors. Can we give a hand clap? We have visitors. We're excited about our visitors here tonight joining us. We would like for you to just state your name and what brought you here to Spartanburg Toastmasters. Let's start with Jakari.
Sure. First and foremost, thank you all for allowing me to sit in on this meeting. I feel welcomed already, so thank you for that. As it was stated, my name is Jakari Clayton. I was originally born in Jacksonville, Florida, but I grew up in Naples, Florida, and I moved to Spartanburg, South Carolina about 6 months ago for a position with United Way of the Piedmont. So what brought me to Spartanburg Toastmasters specifically was I just wanted to continue working on my leadership skills as well as my public speaking skills, working with different communities and whatnot and people in these different communities. I feel like it's important to continue elaborating and constructing and getting better just at speaking publicly as well as privately with these individuals in a way that allows me to not only be empathetic towards them from my own standpoint and perspective, but to really understand from their own perspective as well. So I just want to continue fostering that and working on that. So thank you for having me. I'm sorry, I think you're muted.
Thank you so much. We are excited about having you with us tonight, and we look forward to having you with us in the future, maybe even joining the club. And next we have Mr. Natnell. If you would please just tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you back to us today.
Hello, my name is Nathanael. I am originally from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. I have been in the US, I think, 6 months now. I came to the Toastmasters not only to practice my public speaking, as Jakari said, but also to practice my English. Because even if I used English for most of my life, I have never used it like as my main language, as I'm doing now. So I think I have a lot to go before like having perfect conversational English, and I'm hoping to get that from here, since I have a limited opportunity to speak outside work. I'm excited to be here. As I said last week, Barakat invited me to this meeting, and having a person you know in the meeting helps, especially when coming to a new country. I'm hoping to improve myself. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Natnell. We are excited to have you and to have you back. And one thing I would like to let you know is that we all are working on our English language. That's why we are all a part of Toastmasters. So I don't want you to feel as if you stand out in any way, because believe you me, we all have some work to do. We're excited. We're excited about you all being here tonight and being ready and willing to join. We're off onto having a great meeting tonight. I am excited. And at this time, if there are no more announcements, I would like to turn control of the meeting to our Toastmaster of the day, none other than the most dedicated virtual member that we have here in Toastmasters, Mr. John Frey. Take it away.
Thank you, LaShane. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and our guests tonight. I hope you come back and join us real soon. So, in person too. I wish I could be there with you guys. So, tonight's theme: changing your habits one step at a time. Sounds intimidating, right? Well, it can be. Tonight, I'll share some strategies, some insight with some things that's worked with me over the years. But also, it'll give you some opportunity to kind of brainstorm what your next change of habit might be. So I'll share some things throughout the episode tonight, but I'll start off by sharing a few quick things before I turn the controls over to Lee here in a few minutes. But ask yourself what you want to change. Be realistic with yourself. You know, if it's something that's out of this park or something that's going to be extremely difficult that you don't think you'll be able to achieve, you know, keep it something measurable. That's our second thing. Make sure it's measurable, something we can measure for success or failure. You know, it's got to be. We have to be able to tell if it's something worth doing and that type of thing. So make it short, especially at the beginning. Easy victories. I think those are kind of goes hand in hand. Starting a new job or any kind of new task, build that confidence. You know, be your own best enemy, more or less. So. Just a few ideas and strategies, and I'll share some more throughout tonight. But at this time, I'll turn it over to Lee, and I'll let him introduce his team. Take it away, Lee.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our great guest that we have with us today, thank you for being here. I have the privilege of serving as the general evaluator tonight. And in that role, I will actually be the master of ceremonies for the last part of this meeting. There are a number of people who are helping to make sure that we have an excellent meeting and help manage the evaluation portion of what we do. First, I would like to introduce you to our grammarian word master, Mr. Alex Dahlstrom.
Thank you, Lee. Hi, everybody, and welcome guests. We're glad to have you. So my role today is to be the enforcer of the ums and the tallier of the filler words, as well as also introduce our word of the day, which is celerity, which means a particular swiftness or steadfastness. For example, I, with celerity, hopped off a particular meeting because it was going south very fast. So with that in mind, I will hand it back to you guys, and I look forward to a great meeting.
Tonight, our timer is Mr. Daniel Allison. Please describe your role, Daniel. Come up here.
So timing, as you know, timing is everything, right, Lee? Timing is everything. And so as the timer, I'm going to let you know where you're at in your speech by indicating with these lights. So for your guests, I'm sure everybody else is familiar with the green light. That means you've just started, right, Lee?
Means you minimum time.
Minimum time. Yellow is we're halfway through. And red, we're going to come kick you off the stage. Now, red means that you're over the time limit, right?
The maximum, right.
All right. So that's it. Thank you.
We're so glad Daniel is back in our club. He's a returning member and just getting back in the saddle. So as he just explained, you'll see green, yellow, and red. Each speech, each evaluation, each table topics has a specific time that it can go. There is a minimum time which you must achieve to be considered as eligible to be our best in that category. And so that minimum time is when the green light will come on. It's typically 5 minutes for speeches, it's 1 minute for table topics, and it's 2 minutes for evaluations. The yellow light comes on halfway between the minimum time and the maximum time, which is to let you know, if you're not already thinking about wrapping up, you need to start thinking about it now. The red light means you've reached your maximum time. For our speakers, that's typically 7 minutes. For table topics, that's 2 minutes. And for evaluations, that's 3 minutes. You have a 30-second grace period on either side of the minimum or maximum time to still be eligible to be voted upon for best speaker, best evaluator, or best table topics. I tried to do that explanation with as much celerity as I could. Now, let's meet our vote counter, Mr. Randy Riddle.
Tonight, I will be your vote counter, and I am signed on Zoom as well as in person. So the in-person, we will vote for the best speaker, evaluator, and table topics. And anyone in person will pass me their paper notes. If you are on Zoom, just send me a private message. I'm Randy Riddle on the Zoom, and I will collect those votes and announce the winners tonight.
That's what you call being prepared. Here we got the newest member of our club who handles things with such celerity, getting it done so quickly. Awesome job. My job as general evaluator at the end of the meeting is to introduce our evaluators. Each of our speakers has an assigned evaluator who will give a 2 to 3 minute evaluation, and I'll introduce those at that time. Once they have done their roles, then I will ask each of the evaluation assistants that you have met tonight to give their reports about how the meeting goes. With all that said and done, let's get back to what's really great about this meeting. Back to our speeches, going to be led by Mr. John Frey. John.
Thank you, Lee. I appreciate that. All right, leading us off tonight is Mr. Bernie Holiday. Bernie will be speaking from his engaging humor pathway, connecting with your audience. Bernie will be speaking for 5 to 7 minutes tonight, and his title is Virtually Better. Even though most people have the okay to take their mask off, post-COVID, our post-COVID world still believes in the power of Zoom. Photographer Bernie Holiday will help us better understand how to put your best virtual foot forward. Ladies and gentlemen, Bernie Holiday.
Thank you very much, Mr. Frey. Hang on a second, my head's cold. There we go. All right, now I look more like my logo, which I appreciate. My guests who are here to join us, we do actually meet in my studio. I am a photographer. I am very, very happy to have chosen this line of work, and hopefully I get to keep doing it for a while. And we're going to see how it works out. But today I want to talk about the issues we have with post-COVID. Now, if COVID had never happened, none of you would be there. You'd be here. So we already know that after a COVID world doesn't mean that Zoom stock's going to plummet. It just means that we realize that we don't have to go into the office all the time. You don't have to step foot in this studio to demonstrate that you may or may not be wearing pants. It's just a fact of how it is right now. But the problem we've run into is, how do we as Toastmasters present ourselves well, or even as business owners, entrepreneurs, as high officers within a business, manage to present ourselves well on a virtual environment? Now, I'm going to talk you through some of the basic ideas here. I don't have time, unfortunately, to actually sit down and go through everything. I wish I could, because that would be fun. But Randy, could you grab that door? It's a little open, and it's letting people with loud exhausts express themselves. I don't mind them expressing themselves, I just don't want to hear it. So, now that sound is gone, what do you guys, I want to hear everyone. If you're attending virtually, please unmute yourself. Feel free to ask questions as I continue, because this is going to be more of a workshop and less of a speech. Okay, so what does everyone think the most important part of an online presence is? What's your most important piece of equipment? Anyone?
Camera.
A camera? A camera? Does everyone agree it's a camera? Well, you're wrong.
Right.
Actually, Daniel, you're pretty close. The first thing you have to worry about is sound. Now, some of you are at home right now and you are on your computer and you're relying on a computer microphone that's this big. It is tiny. It has very little room to move, which means it has very little way of being able to hear the full depth of your voice. You don't have an opportunity to present yourself in your best light. So your first thing to change is sound. Well, how do you do that? Do you, Daniel, do you buy, what we're going to do, buy an expensive mic?
No.
Like one of
Like
those
one you got
snowballs,
there?
like, well, I got one right there, I got one right there, I got one right there. Yeah, I've got a lot of mics in here and they're all pretty expensive.
Yeah.
But is that the first thing you're going to do?
No, you're not gonna go out and buy an expensive microphone.
Why is that?
It seems like an overkill for what you're looking for.
Well, it is an overkill, but also you probably already have one. That's right, you probably already have a decent mic. I have one right here. Pair of wireless earbuds, cost me 20 bucks. This microphone works great. Some of y'all who are Apple aficionados probably already have an excellent mic that probably cost you more than 20 bucks, but you have a pair of, what do you call it, AirPods? Yeah. That's an excellent mic for video conferencing. So even if you're virtual and you're presenting from your laptop so you can fully interact on Zoom. Really?
5 to 7?
Yeah. Okay.
3.5 minutes in, halfway?
No. 5 minutes is what he took. We've had a timer mishap.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Sorry.
We got to knock the rest off of you. That's fine. We're going to figure it out. So you probably already have a good mic, even if you're presenting from your laptop or participating from your laptop, you can still, in most cases, use your phone to dial into audio, which means that you can use whatever microphone is attached to your phone, be it AirPods or a wireless set of earbuds. You can still use those to present your audio. So it's probably something you already have. Or if you're really lucky and like Lee, you have some really, really fancy hearing aids that already has the microphone built in. And I've been on the phone with him and it sounds like he's right next to me. It is really, really good. So what's next? We talked about audio. What's next on our list of things to be good?
Video.
We're almost there.
Lighting.
I have one of these. You do not necessarily need one of these, but they are cool. You can get something like this for 30 to 50 bucks. This one's actually around 70, but I actually got it for free when I bought something else. However, a nice little light panel that's going to put out a lot more light than you're comfortable looking at. Like if you've presented in the studio since I've put the extra spot in, you'll know what it's like. You look over to your left and all of a sudden see the spotlight looking at you, but it makes me pop out from the background. That means my camera doesn't have to work as hard to collect light because I'm putting more light into the scene. You follow? So the problem is when you create that light, you have something called color temperature. You know how you can go to the Lowe's and get lights that are soft white, that are daylight balanced, that are all different variances of what color they are? Well, the best lights you can get are the ones that are called daylight balanced. And here I got daylight balanced lights on purpose. Like when I first moved into the studio, I had fluorescent lights. I said, those gotta go. I hate fluorescent lights, they're terrible. So now you have a decent microphone. You have a decent light pointed at you to make you stand out a little bit. Now what's important? Camera, we're finally to the camera. Now, Randy, do you need this? No, you don't. Which is kind of funny because here I am, I'm in the studio and I've got this guy's bigger brother staring at me right now. However, you don't need something this big. In fact, you probably, again, already have a decent camera in your pocket. Notice I said in your pocket and not on your laptop. The reason the laptop cameras aren't as good is that they just don't put as much into them. And getting the laptop, getting the image from your iPod, we haven't had those in a while, have we? Getting that image from your phone to your laptop, you can use a little piece of software called OBS. You can download an app that will send the image from your iPhone camera to OBS and OBS to your laptop. It's a very, very easy way. And the other problem with your laptop camera, by the way, Jakari, I'm going to pick on you for a second. I don't know you, but I'm going to pick on you. You're fine with that? Look at your background for a second.
Mm-hmm.
You see how the crown molding around your apartment is doing this number?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's because I bet you're using a laptop right now. That laptop screen is slightly tilted back.
Correct.
So that camera is pointed up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason it's doing that. And that gives the impression to other people who are watching your video stream that they are looking up at you, which means you're what? You're talking down to them. That's not the impression we want to give as Toastmasters. So being able to get the camera off of your laptop, whether it be your phone or a cheaper camera that you can put on a tripod and stare at you from a level surface, will change the way you are received. And I do hope that you are able to put some of these things into practice with celerity. But my time is up, sadly. I'd love to continue because this is a subject I can talk about until you're tired of hearing me. So I will give things back to our Toastmaster of the day, Mr. John Frey. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Bernie. We appreciate that. All right, when convenient, please send some feedback over to Bernie, either text, video chat, or email, or smoke signal, either all or the above. All right, changing your habits one step at a time. Hopefully y'all have had a few minutes to gather your thoughts and kind of brainstorm some things that you might want to implement here in the next few weeks, days, months, even year down the road. But one thing I want to talk about is having a positive support system. Having the right people in your life that can help you support you along the way, whatever it might be. So having the right people, the right friends can make all the difference in the world. That's for sure. So, and think about why you're doing this is another thing. Why are you wanting to change? What's your motivation to change a habit or that type of thing? So just some things to think about when you're moving forward and selecting what bad habit you're going to erase here in the upcoming weeks. So, and please send your votes to, not your votes, but your feedback over to Bernie. No, yes, please. All right. And our two-hole tonight is Mr. Greg Allen. Greg will be speaking from his Pathways Dynamic Leadership, Researching and Presenting. Greg will be speaking for 5 to 7 minutes tonight. Finding your cow key. I knew I should have texted you before, Greg. Greg Allen is the owner of Clear Path Financial and currently serves the Area 71 District for District 58. Join Greg as he endeavors to uncover the secret to a long and happy life. Take it away, Greg. Thanks.
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
Mr. Toastmaster of the day, fellow Toastmasters, and our very guests that have joined us tonight. If you don't know, Konnichiwa is Japanese for hello or good day. And the reason I opened my speech with that is the title of my speech tonight is Finding Your Ikigai. Does anyone here know what Ikigai means?
There's a person who smells. He's icky.
Good guess, but wrong. Iki in Japanese means life. Gai simply means purpose or worth. So by a show of hands, how many of us at some time or another have asked the question, what is my purpose in life? I know I have, probably 1,000,000 times and still do. So as a research project, which is one of my favorite speech projects to do, this one not so much, but I stumbled upon this Japanese philosophy. Most of you know that I spent the first 5 years of my life in Japan. So I kind of have a kindred connection to the Japanese, I feel like. I don't know why. I don't know if they taught me something when I was little or maybe implanted something in my mind. I don't know. But when I stumbled upon this philosophy, I was really led to dig into it and learn more about it. It's really not a concept that's any different than anything we've ever heard before. But in the study of Ikigai, the two authors of this book, Ikigai, I don't know if you can see this. This is a book written by Hector Garcia and Francesc Morales. You can purchase this on Amazon for about $12. It's probably not worth the $12, but maybe you'll learn something anyway. So in their research, they learned of a village in the northern part of Okinawa. And in this village, there are more centurions, a centurion being someone who's 100 years or older. There are more centurions in this village than anywhere else in the world. Japan as a country has approximately 25 centurions per 100,000 people. And why is that? And this village is in Okinawa, as I mentioned, and I'm sure many of you have heard of Okinawa. It was devastated during World War II, right? Yet here we have people living there today that are living well past 100 years old. Just recently, their oldest inhabitant was 117 years old and drove until she was 112. So how do they do this? How do they live so long? Well, the philosophy, ikigai, which is centuries old, just simply means live long and be happy. But how do you do that? Well, the Japanese have their ideas of what ikigai means. And of course, here in the Western world, we like to take things and reshape them and make them our own. But in this village, their philosophy of living is, first of all, focus on what you're doing. Don't try to multitask, which is impossible to do. Psychologists have proven that. Focus on your task, live in the moment, be present in what you're doing. Eat a healthy diet. They primarily eat fish, rice, and a combination of 18 different fruits and vegetables every day. And they drink green tea. That's their diet. That's what they've always lived off of. They have a philosophy of everyone is your brother, whether you know them or not. Greet them with a smile. Greet them with love. Treat them like they're your family. Never stop moving. Did you know in the Japanese language there is not a word for retire? The Japanese never retire. They just go and do something else. That's another part of their philosophy. Have your profession, but have a hobby as well. Preferably a hobby that you can make money at, because you never know what might happen to your profession. You still need income. So turn to your hobby. In the Western world, we've kind of scaled this down from having a healthy diet and never stop moving and finding your focus. There are 4 elements to the Western idea of ikigai. What do you love to do? What are you good at? What does the world need? And can you make money at it? Now, I would say the Japanese probably didn't look at ikigai as a way of making money, right? But we in the Western world, that's how we think. So the idea behind ikigai is if you can find what you love and you're good at what you do, and the world needs what you do, then maybe you can bring all that together and make money. Find your purpose in life. Now, I personally don't believe my purpose in life is whatever my vocation is. I think that my purpose in life is to serve a higher power. Everything else comes second to that. But again, ikigai. The Japanese believe that if your diet is balanced and you're focused on what you do and you have a passion for what you do and you never stop moving, which simply means just exercise every day, even if it's some type of low intensity. Find the balance with all of this and you will have a long and happy life. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Greg. I'll have to catch up with you real soon. I went over to Japan back in 2019, so I'll have to catch up with you real soon. Please provide some feedback for Greg when you get a chance. Text message, video chat, email. So changing your habits. We had a chance to brainstorm, think about any ideas or anything like that. Something I was thinking about earlier was working your game plan, working your plan. One thing that's worked for me is I've got 2 or 3 dry erase boards up in my office that I write stuff down, work related or just tasks, but also stuff I want to complete personally and that type of thing. So some things to think about is working a plan from start to finish. Be really, really laser focused on specific tasks, those small things to make all the world a difference. Kind of some of the things I've mentioned before, surrounding yourself with the right people, just all that plays into achieving your goal at the end of the day. So tonight, our third speaker is Mr. Bearcat Tolcha. He will be speaking from his dynamic leadership pathways, lessons learned. He will be speaking for 5 to 7 minutes. His title speech is Lesson Learned from Dynamic Leadership Pathway Level 5. Bearcat will tell us his experience of running a lesson learned meeting from a recent project from his work. Take it away, Bearcat.
Thank you, John. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and our esteemed guests. I have no idea what I've been missing. I remember taking tutorials about lessons learned, and the last thing and the most important thing to do in project management is lessons learned. I've heard about that. I have seen many tutorials in LinkedIn and somewhere else. I never had the practical experience until this week because of Toastmasters, because my assignment was lessons learned, and I don't want to make a speech without having some experience about it. And fortunately, I had a work assignment. That one of my assignments recently is to audit one of the projects being developed. So just try to understand what have been done and what are the gaps. So for that reason, I tried to conduct lessons learned for that project. And man, it was very helpful. And also it's the last thing to do in project management, but I believe that's the most important thing because it will help us learn from our mistakes and make us better and make our next project better. Some of the things I learned from this experience is, one, we have to, or while conducting this meeting, the first thing that was very challenging is, as you know, when we conduct lessons learned meetings, there are some criteria. First, we have to set an agenda, and then during the meet, and we have to communicate that agenda. And during the meeting, we have to start the meeting in a positive way. This is not a blame game, right? This is a meeting where we can all participate and understand our challenges so we don't do them again. But the challenge I had in running this meeting is when the meeting started, immediately it turned out to be a blaming game. It only because I think it's because one, this is my first time, so probably I didn't set the mood right. But then again, my team members are also don't have experience in lessons learned. There are meetings, but most of the meetings are blamings. Not exactly one blames another, but in most meetings, team members are more defensive than being open and transparent about what happened. Because if they tell us, if they speak about what happened honestly and openly, we will have a better chance of understanding the problem, the root cause of the problem. And based on that, we'll have come up with a better solution and a better suggestion for upcoming projects. But that wasn't the experience I got. So it took a while to actually shape the purpose of the meeting and to make the team members understand and get into that mood, a positive mood, where they can openly speak about what happened and the challenges they faced. But that was a nice challenge. The second one is from this lessons learned meeting is the documentation. I remember especially, so as a meeting or a project participant, I have been in a lot of projects in the last decade. At least I have started working, and after I became a senior, I have been involved in many projects, and I have led a few recently. But in all projects, especially in software development projects, there is a pattern. The problems you notice in one project will happen next time, because most of them are basic standards and they are everywhere. They are documented everywhere, but we don't notice them. At least I have been making the same mistake ever and ever. I remember some projects that might have benefited from this and would have been a different story about them. But let me come back to the documentation part. So as the project progresses without lessons learned, I don't remember how many times my boss told me to prepare a checklist or record the problems or the gaps that happened during the project, right? And I have some items in my checklist, but it was never complete, and it was never understood or with a consensus with team members. Because in lessons learned, the final documentation, the final output is not my understanding of the problem or my thoughts of a solution, but the team's understanding. And in many ways, it's much better because they will see it from a different perspective and they're actually facing the problem. So the final documentation, I have to admit, it's not yet compiled in a document that I can share with other team members and project leads, but it is a much better output than trying to collect issues and gaps and prepare a checklist. That's my experience in lessons learned. I hope it will excite you to try it next time. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Bearcat. At this time, please send Bearcat a private message, email, text message on your feedback from his speech tonight. So one of my last strategies of changing habits is wake up early. I know it sounds simple. Who wants to get up early? I mean, are you crazy? No way. Start small, 10 or 15 minutes a day and work up to it. I started about 2 years ago, and I wish I would have done it 20 years ago. There's something to be said about that calm before the storm. That's between 5:30 and 6:30 before everything starts. So, to give you a chance to work your plan of changing your habit and moving forward. So just some ideas and something to take back with you when you start your journey. Daniel, can we get a timer's report, please?
Yes, sir. Came in at 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Greg Allen came in at 7 minutes and 15 seconds. And Bearcat came in at 7 minutes and 18 seconds.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate that. And at this time, please send a private message to Mr. Randy Riddle for your best speaker vote. So sometime throughout the next 30 minutes or so. So this time I'll turn it over to Cheryl for our table topics. Take it away, Cheryl.
Good evening, everyone. It is such a pleasure to have such a great group, both at the studio and online. I feel that our group is growing, and this is exciting. So I'm seeing the positive theme this evening, and the questions are varied. They don't really necessarily connect in any particular way. It's just positive things going on in your life. So the first question is, what is the most valuable lesson that you learned from your parents? John McKinney.
The most valuable lesson that I learned from my parents. Well, keep in mind, I only grew up with one parent, which is my mother. My father passed away when I was 3 years old. And my mom is from what you call the silent generation. She's 95 years old. And there's several lessons that I can go through that I've learned over the years under her. But one of the biggest lessons that I've learned from her, my mom knows how to survive. Keep in mind, she grew up during the Great Depression. This is World War II was going on. My mom grew up in extreme poverty. She knows how to survive. Another thing, she was in an abusive marriage with my dad. Again, she knows how to survive. My mom raised 6 children on her own. She knows how to survive. My mother took care of my grandmother, who did not like her because of her skin complexion. But guess what? When my father passed away, my mother ended up taking care of her. Again, my mom knows how to survive. And that is the biggest lesson, I must say, that I have learned from my mother. Madam Table Topics Master.
Awesome job, John. You get an A for that impromptu speech. That was fabulous. Would you like to come to my class tomorrow? Oh no, but that was a great answer. Okay, the next question is, if you could take a single photograph of your life, what would it look like? LaShane. I'm sorry, would you like me to repeat it?
I think I got it, Table Topics, Madam Table Topics. If I could take a single photo, what would it look like? When I first heard the question, I was like, please don't call on me, because I would hate to say what I'm going to say. A single photo of my life looks like organized chaos. That's just what it is. I am, first of all, a mother, a wife, and that has its own chaos. If you have a family, you understand what that looks like. Then I am an assistant principal at an elementary school, but not just an assistant principal. I have the privilege of working with kids in a self-contained class with behavioral disabilities. That has its own chaos within itself, and it is a huge chaos. But the one thing about what I do, I love what I do with all of my kiddos. And then thirdly, my next love, working in a group home of teenage boys who have come from abusive families. They've been neglected. But once again, I love what I do. So that snapshot, it's like, but it's the life I love to live. Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Oh, great job, LaShane. You always put so much passion into your answers, and I'm picturing the chaos. Okay, I'm going to ask Nathaniel and Jakari. Are you willing to participate if I ask you a question? You don't have to as guests, but you may. So I'm just asking if, can you just say yes or no if you would like to participate?
Sure,
Yes.
I wouldn't have a problem. There may be a couple ums in there, so please bear with me, but yeah, I don't have a problem.
Okay, and Nathaniel, you're okay also?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, well, great. Again, as a teacher, I do teach at USCFJ as a teacher of public speaking. This is great. Congratulations to both of you for just jumping right in. And that's how you get better, is just practice, practice, practice. So, okay. I'm going to ask Jakari, what motivates you to go to work every day?
What motivates me to go to work every day? I think the first answer would be stepping into the unknown. I think just waking up is an opportunity to create something that I didn't necessarily envision or didn't necessarily expect or even prepare myself for. And I think that's something that I can look forward to. I think in its essence, that's what life is about. It's about not being afraid to get uncomfortable, not being afraid to risk something, or not being afraid to step out on faith, which is something that I like to pride myself on. I think when it comes down to it, going to work every day, it may be monotonous, it may be routine, it may be something that I don't necessarily like to do. But I think the thing that keeps me coming back is this idea that there's more out there for me. And the only way to explore that and get there is to take that step or to take that leap.
Okay, great. Thank you so very much. And your job sounds very interesting.
Thank you.
Very, very good. Okay, the last question is, with the resources that you have right now, what can you do to bring yourself closer to your goal? Nathaniel.
With the resource that I have now, I will say I have to manage my time more conservatively, and I will have to, I think, find a single direction to what I want to do, because I've been like for the past 2 years or something, I have been very branched out. So I have to like collect myself and direct myself towards a singular goal to achieve what I need with the resource I have now.
Okay, very good. Thank you so very much. It's great to hear from all of you. I believe, do we need a timers report, or do we go to the general evaluator?
Report. Do I give that now?
Yes.
All right. So
Okay, I'll turn it over to Daniel. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Daniel.
Thank you, Cheryl. John was at 1 minute and 33 seconds. John McKinney. LaShawn was at 1 minute and 52 seconds. Jakari was at 1 minute, and Nathaniel was at 50 seconds.
Carol, you can call for the vote. You're muted.
I apologize. Okay. If everyone would please send their vote for their best table, their favorite table topic, if they would send that to Randy Riddle. And both Nathaniel and Jakari, you may vote, even though you're guests, you're not a member, you still have the right to vote. So go ahead and if everyone would please send their votes to Randy Riddle.
Move on, Cheryl.
I'm going to turn control of the meeting back over to Lee to introduce our evaluators for this evening. So go ahead and I will turn control back over to Mr. Lee Holiday.
Madam Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and once again, our welcome guest. We are now engaged in where we get the biggest bang for our buck in Toastmasters. Evaluation is where we learn from what we have done, embrace those things that we did well, find out what we could do better, and make our meetings progressively better and better and better and better as we, each one of us, get better and better and better and better. To help Barney Holiday get better, listen to this evaluation by our resident sage, Mr. John Abercrombie.
Fellow Toastmasters, and I am excited with our guests, but particularly to Bernie Holiday. I thought we saw an outstanding speech, and it was well thought out. It was very practical because it took ideas that we had and expanded on them. And one of the things that was most impressive to me is the answer was not to throw money at everything. There are practical solutions. So he gave us information that we could use. It was well presented. Voice inflection, voice range was outstanding. Gestures were here. And so all total, it was a very, very good speech. Now we come down to a point where we talk about things that you can do to improve it. And sometimes at this point, it may appear to be nitpicking, but it brings me back to the point where the first time I went to the horse races and they came in a photo finish. That close. So we look at small things that can make a big difference. And what we end up out of that is, although we did well in second place, the person that's generally remembered is the first place. There were great use of props, and we had the earbuds, the cameras, the other things which accentuated the speech. But I think there may have been some examples that we could have shown that were stark contrast to each of those. But again, we're getting down to the fine straws of this entire situation. If there was a challenge, I think it would be in maybe utilizing more of the stage. But again, that may be distracting. When we give evaluations, we always want to realize that this is one person's opinion. We take what we need and discard the rest. But I think we saw an excellent presentation that gave us a lot of food for thought, a lot of practicality, and a lot of things that we can use. And I thoroughly enjoyed the presentation of Mr. Bernie Holiday. Now we'll bring Lee back up.
Evaluating our second speaker, who was Greg Allen, let's welcome to the presence of this Zoom meeting, Mr. John McKinney.
Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and Greg, I see you over here on my right next to my nemesis and the average dude, Daniel Allison. Greg. Tonight, I have seen you in a different light. From the time that I met you up until tonight, you have grown immensely as a speaker, and you have grown immensely as a leader also, but I'm talking about your speaking abilities tonight. I am just in awe at your presentation on tonight. I really am. I mean, you really captivated. You captivated me, and I'm sure you captivated the whole audience. Your hand gestures were at a minimum. You weren't doing anything crazy like that. You connected with the audience. You had great eye contact. You used visual aid appropriately. I felt like that I was at a seminar that you're hosting. That's how I felt, because the way you delivered that speech tonight sounded like something that ought to be in a seminar for like 3 or 4 days. Greg, you did an outstanding job. And here is the unfortunate thing, something that you can grow on. For the first time since I've evaluated you, I had a very hard time trying to find where you messed up. I really couldn't find anything. But if I was to make any suggestions or what you can improve on, since this is a hybrid club, you kind of got away from the camera a little bit, where I only saw like a part of you. I mean, it kind of takes away from the others that are, who are watching via Zoom. I would say try to stay within a camera, since everything is virtual and live. I would suggest that you do that. And you did rock a little bit here and there. Try to keep that under control, because I have a bad habit doing that myself. And I mean, like I said, you had great hand gestures. Your voice was just amazing tonight. And Greg, I cannot wait to hear your next speech, because I'm sure, as we say in the South, gooder and gooder. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, John. For our third speaker tonight, who was Bearcat Tolcha, we have the privilege of hearing from our club president, Ms. LaShane Goins. LaShane.
Thank you so much, Mr. General Evaluator, and to our visitors once again, and to my fellow Toastmasters, and to Bearcat. Once again, Bearcat, you brought it very well. One thing about Toastmasters is that we are given an evaluation form. And in that evaluation form, there are several areas that we look at. One is clarity. Bearcat, I'm telling you, have grown as far as clarity is concerned. Great job there. As far as your gestures, I saw maybe a few gestures. Audience awareness, we were paying attention to everything that you were saying. Comfort level, your comfort level gets better and better each time you speak. And I was definitely interested in what you had to say. Vocal variety, that's something we can work on, but we don't want to hit everything at the same time. We could put that on the back burner and work on some other things. But let's talk about your speech, lessons learned. You started off talking about something that you actually experienced. a personal project. Liked that. Then you kept going on in your introduction and you talked about how lessons learned and how they are helpful. And then next, I started thinking to myself, well, what I would like to hear is the flow and the order of your speech. One thing that I noticed is that you struggled with time, like I am doing right now. I have the green light. But as you went on, you started with time. 1, 2, 3. I heard it. The first one, you talked about the different criterias and how the challenge comes with the blame game. One thing I would have loved to see is that you would have a title. You give one and give a nice subtitle to really draw us in to your speech. And as you go on, give solid information and even solid examples that allow us to flow and follow you as you're giving your speech. And then you went to your second and you discussed documentation. It was nice. There you gave examples. They were a little vague, but you gave examples. That right there allowed me to pay attention with even more ease. So great job there. Here is where you realized you were losing time. When you went into your third part, I saw it and I was following you there. And then it was like, uh-oh, I've got to get to the end. I see the smile on your face because we are in agreement. So just watch your time from the very beginning. Your introduction could be short, sweet, to the point, and let it flow before you run out of time, like how I am doing right now. But this is not about me. This is all about you. Great job, Bearcat. I am so proud to be a fellow Toastmaster of yours, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, LaShane. Let's get our grammarian wordmaster report from Mr. Alex Dahlstrom.
Hi there, team. I just want to say that I did not hear a single mispronunciation or any grammatical mistakes at all, which is quite the accomplishment. And then I believe I only heard the word celerity used once by Mr. Lee Holiday. So really, as a whole, I would say we did a really, really, really great job. I mean, especially the guests, I didn't hear any filler words. Everything sounded smooth. And yeah, I'm just really, really excited with how well this has gone. So back to you guys.
Daniel, can you give us a timer's report for the evaluators, please, sir?
Yes, sir. Mr. John Abercrombie spoke for 2 minutes and 47 seconds. John McKinney, 2 minutes and 53 seconds. And LaShane was at 3 minutes and 20 seconds.
Thank you, sir. All three evaluators qualified. Please cast your ballot for who you consider to be the best evaluator tonight between John Abercrombie, John McKinney, and LaShane Goins. Send those ballots, either paper ballots here in the room or via a chat message on Zoom to Randy Riddle. He will tabulate the results and give us a report later in the meeting. Now it's my turn to give you my feedback about tonight's meeting. I was so impressed, as I am every week. Randy gets up here with a minute or so before time to go, and he is poised, ready to start this meeting on the dot at 7 o'clock. Randy, you are doing an incredible job as our Sergeant at Arms. He comes in, he sets up this room. He just does an amazing job. You know, if some of you wanted to help him out, you could get here 20 minutes early or so and help him get some things set up. I bet he would appreciate that. He might even give you a high five or two for it. That would be awesome. But Randy's doing a great job as our Sergeant at Arms. One of the things I observed about tonight's meeting, I was so glad to hear John Frey coming prepared to share some tidbits of wisdom about how we can change our habits one step at a time. And John did a great job of continuing that theme, weaving comments throughout the meeting, helping us all to learn from that. Great job, John Frey. Just goes to show you can be 1,000 miles away and still be a great Toastmaster of the day. So hands up to you. Tonight, I was very impressed with our assistants who served in the different roles, helping me out in the evaluation portion of the meeting. Alex was carefully listening for ahs and ums and the word of the day, and he gave us a very concise report a few minutes ago about that. Daniel was just on the ball over here, ready to serve, ready to serve in any way he could as a returning member, and a little bit rusty perhaps in some of the ways we do things. He just jumped in and he learned by doing it. That's what we do in Toastmasters all the time. For you two guests, we learn by doing. And some of that doing, we make mistakes and we make a note to our minds, next time I won't do that. And sometimes something goes extremely well and we make a note in our minds, I want to do that every time. And that's how we learn. You know how when you started riding a bicycle, you might have gotten 5 feet, 10 feet on that bicycle and you realize something that you did well and you say, I'll do that the next time I ride this bicycle. And then you did something and the bike fell over and you said, I need to not do that the next time. You got better at doing the good things and cut out a lot of those bad things. And all of a sudden you could ride a bicycle for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, and on and on. It's the same thing in Toastmasters. We learn by doing. We learn by watching others do. That's the value of this Toastmasters program. And we all move along at whatever pace we want to absorb whatever is there for us. There is a plethora of opportunity available to all of us as we go through this, practicing our listening skills, our communication skills, and our thinking skills. It's what Toastmasters is. You take this, you learn it here, and then you go out into whatever you do in the rest of your life, and you begin to use those as you go. Our speakers tonight were incredible. They've all had evaluations, so I won't endeavor to give them evaluations. I will say only this. All the things that Bernie had to share, I have been a gracious recipient of that advice as we went into this whole Zoom thing 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? Is that right? Bernie helped me get set up on my screen and he just killed there my camera is back. I couldn't see you who were in Zoom land for a minute there. He helped me get set up at my home with talking about lights and camera and all that stuff, microphones, helped us get better at it. And I so much appreciated him. For Greg's speech, you know what I thought about when Greg was talking? He was talking about the meaning of that Japanese word came down to being the purpose of life, right? And what I thought while he was doing that was good old Mr. Spock, live long and prosper. Live long and prosper. Live long and prosper. That's what the Japanese do. They live long and prosper. We can learn that from Mr. Spock as well. At least I did. And then Bearcat, who just came in here as probably the Toastmaster in our club, who gets the most improved award every week, week after week, doing an incredible job just showing us what it means to grow and learn in Toastmasters. So great job, Bearcat. For our evaluators tonight, One of the things that we seem to always hear is, well, I had trouble coming up with something for you to grow on. You know what? Don't feel like you have to say that. I'm just going to tell you that feels like nails scraping across the chalkboard to me. If you don't have anything to share, that's fine. Tell them what they did great and leave it at that. We don't have to come up with something for people to grow on. Don't stretch it to try to find something just to have something to say about that. Tell them they did a great job. Point out those great things so other Toastmasters can emulate those great things and let it be what it is. We don't have to ascribe to a formula. Oh, I have to tell somebody what they can do better every time. You don't. Let's just learn from each other. If it's a lot of good stuff to learn, then take it. And if there's things that maybe in your opinion shouldn't be repeated, then yeah, say, you know, at least in my opinion, you could have done without that, or it would have been great if you had done this. And that's fine, but don't just try to stretch it into it. Just let it be natural. Let it just flow with it. I thank all of you for participating in your various roles tonight. I am coming to the end of the time that I have control of this meeting. And I'm going to take a little latitude at this point before I turn the meeting control back over to our Toastmaster of the day to wrap this meeting up, to ask each of you to help me. If you're on screen, if you're here, I want you all to take yourself off of mute for just a moment. Turn your microphones on. Turn your microphones on. I want to see all the microphones on. Okay, John Frey, turn your microphone on. LaShane, turn your microphone on. Alex, turn your microphone on. And what I want you all to do is to help me give a great big celebration wish to Mr. Bernie Holiday for his birthday today. Oh. Happy birthday!
Happy birthday.
Hey, Bernie.
Happy birthday to you.
You don't look a day over 95.
Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Lee. We appreciate you so much. I appreciate the opportunity tonight to share a little insight and strategies on changing your habits. And I'm going to run through a little quick recap of just some ideas to take home with you. Ask yourself why you want to change. You know, that's one of the biggest ones. If that's your only takeaway, what's your motivation to get better? If it means something to you, you're going to change. You'll have in your gut to, you know, get out of bed and work that plan. But, you know, make all your plans measurable. When you sit down and you figure out the 10 things that I can do to work toward this goal, make sure they're measurable so you can judge your success at the end. But make them short at the beginning. You know, build on success. Sports are great for that. You know, you're building up first, second, third quarter, doing good. You know, it really does play a lot on your shoulders, you know, so short victories go a long ways. And make a great support system. Surround yourself with the right people that are going to help you. You know what? I couldn't, can express that enough, how important that is, just not with doing a task like this, but just in everyday life. And last but not least, work your plan. Work your plan and pay attention to the small detail. It'll make all the difference in the world. So I appreciate the opportunity to visit with y'all tonight. I hope you gain a little bit of insight and something to take home with you in the future. At this portion of the meeting, I was going to ask if we could get any feedback from our visitors tonight about our meeting, what we could do better, improve, or just overall, just your opinion, and look forward to hearing from you.
Kari, why don't you go first?
Sure, that's not a problem. Thank you. So for me, honestly, the meeting was very prompt. It went according to plan, and I think what really showed through was just the fact that everyone had their individual personalities, and what really was brought to the surface was the speeches. And I felt really honored just to sit in and listen to those. So there's no improvements from my end. I felt very welcomed, and I'm really looking forward to coming hopefully next week. Thank you.
Yeah, same here. I really enjoyed the speeches. The same as last week. I really felt welcome here. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate the feedback. Hope to see you real soon. At this time, I want to turn it over to Randy for some announcements tonight.
Tonight, we had some close calls for our votes. We had, for our speaker, the voted best speaker was Greg Allen. Our best table topic speaker by a single vote was John McKinney. And our best evaluator was our president, LaShane Goins.
Yeah, ribbons.
Ribbons. Should have.
Even though two of them on screen, give Greg his and.
I have to go get them real quick.
That's okay. We'll worry about it later, Randy. Don't worry about it. We'll just go on. John, take it away.
Thank you, Randy. Do we have any announcements?
Bernie, if you could bring up the, thank you. I'll step up here and talk a minute. So for our next meeting, our Toastmaster of the day will be Cheryl Ledford. So Cheryl, we look forward to having a equally as well-led meeting next week as we have this week. And I know you'll do a great job in leading that. Our speakers next week currently are Daniel Allison. Daniel, I put you in there quick. That's good. He's ready for it. And LaShane Goins and John Abercrombie. So we'll have three, once again, excellent speakers next week. It shows me as a speaker down there. That's just because I'm doing table topics, and there is a project in Pathways where actually being the table topics master is the project. So that's why that's on there. So don't worry about it. I'll ask whoever's general evaluator, that would be Bearcat Tolcha, to actually complete my evaluation of how well I did table topics. And then our evaluators next week are Randy Riddle, John Frey, and hopefully Paul Kemp. Paul's not with us tonight, but hopefully he will be. I sent you out, and you see on here the roles assignments for the next 3 weeks beyond that. I trust you will all be looking at that and thinking about it and beginning to plan ahead, so that when we get there, it's no last minute scramble to fill your role, but you are well prepared. That's one of the things that Toastmasters is all about. It's why we do Toastmasters. It's where we learn leadership skills, going ahead and knowing what we have to do and planning ahead to do it, so that when the time comes, it comes off as well prepared and executed with precision. So I encourage you to do that. One last thing I will once again remind you is that on Saturday, March the 12th, our contestants from the Spartanburg Toastmasters Club will be competing in the Area 71 Humorous Speech and International Speech Contest, Mr. Greg Allen's area. And I hope you've got all you need from ways of volunteers, Greg.
I believe so.
Good deal. So I hope you can all join in. We'll provide to you the Zoom link so you can watch and listen to our members win at area and go on to division. Greg, do we still only have one area that's participating in the division?
No.
Oh, we got
I
some.
think we have 2 areas.
Oh, great. So we got some competition. Okay. Good deal. We'll give them their run for their money. Any questions you have about agenda assignments, about pathways, please let me know. I want you to be sure you're keeping up with pathways and making sure you're completing your virtual training on pathways. I am continuing to review that, and I will be reaching out to you if it looks like there's some opportunity for you to complete things there so that we get all the credit for all the things that we have completed here in this club, in the district, and at Toastmasters International. Mr. John Frey.
Thank you, Lee. If we don't have any more announcements, we can go ahead and adjourn tonight.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good
All
week.
Right.
All right, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
See you later.
I'm gonna start.